For decades, Israel and Iran waged a shadow war, an ongoing high-stakes contest fought in the shadows, far from the public eye. Covert operations, daring espionage missions, and relentless cyber attacks became the norm, as both nations sought to outmaneuver each other without triggering a full-scale conflict. Proxy battles raged across the region, from the streets of Beirut to the deserts of Syria, with each side supporting armed groups and militias to advance their interests. This clandestine struggle shaped the security landscape of the Middle East, creating an uneasy balance where open war seemed unthinkable, until now. But in June 2025, everything changed in a single, shattering moment. Israel, breaking years of precedent, launched a massive direct assault on Iran's military and nuclear infrastructure. The world watched in shock as Israeli fighter jets streaked across the night sky, targeting key facilities deep inside Iranian territory. Explosions lit up the darkness, and the old rules of engagement were swept aside. The attack was not just a military operation, it was a message that the era of limited, deniable conflict was over. The region braced for the consequences, knowing that nothing would ever be the same. Iran responded with overwhelming force. Within hours, a barrage of ballistic missiles was unleashed, targeting Israeli cities and military bases. Air raid sirens wailed as civilians scrambled for shelter, their lives upended in an instant. The skies above Tel Aviv, Haifa, and Jerusalem filled with the thunder of explosions, as emergency teams raced to save the wounded and contain the chaos. The conflict, once hidden in the shadows, now erupted in the heart of civilian life, plunging millions into fear and uncertainty. The war escalated rapidly, exploding into open, brutal warfare. Both sides suffered devastating losses, buildings reduced to rubble, vital infrastructure crippled, and entire neighborhoods scarred by fire and smoke. Military convoys navigated shattered streets, while medics and volunteers worked tirelessly to aid the wounded. The human cost mounted by the hour, as families were torn apart and cities transformed into battlegrounds. The scale of destruction was unlike anything the region had seen in decades. What was once a calculated game of chess between intelligence agencies and military planners has become a desperate, all-out fight for survival. The rules of engagement have vanished, replaced by the raw brutality of modern warfare. Civilians flee their homes in panic, seeking safety as bombs fall and gunfire echoes through the night. The Middle East, long accustomed to tension and uncertainty, is now gripped by a conflict that threatens to engulf the entire region. The toll is staggering. High-ranking Iranian officials have been killed in targeted strikes, sending shockwaves through Tehran's leadership. Israeli cities reel from direct missile hits, with emergency crews working around the clock to restore order and care for the injured. Government buildings are draped in black, and the mood in both countries is one of mourning, anger, and deep uncertainty. Urban centers, once bustling with life, are now scenes of chaos and grief. The shockwaves of this conflict are felt far beyond the battlefield. Global markets react with panic as oil prices surge and investors brace for instability. The United Nations convenes emergency sessions, while world leaders hold urgent meetings, desperate to prevent the crisis from spiraling further. The fate of international peace, energy security, and regional stability now hangs in the balance, as the world watches and waits for what comes next. The shadow war is over. The Middle East has entered a new, dangerous era, one defined by open conflict, uncertainty, and the ever-present risk of escalation. As military forces mobilize and borders tighten, the world stands on edge, witnessing the dawn of a conflict that will shape the region and the globe for years to come. Israel's military edge lies in its advanced air force and cutting-edge technology. F-35 Adir stealth fighters and a layered missile defense, Iron Dome, David's Sling, Arrow, have intercepted hundreds of Iranian threats, though some missiles still break through. Mossad's intelligence and cyber warfare capabilities disrupt Iran's command and control, enabling precise strikes. Israel's presumed nuclear arsenal looms as the ultimate deterrent, while its campaign aims to cripple Iran's nuclear ambitions. The risk of nuclear escalation is ever present, making every move fraught with global danger. In this war, technology and intelligence are as decisive as firepower. Iran counters Israel's tech advantage with sheer numbers, missiles, drones, and regional proxies. Its vast missile arsenal, including Shahab and Fateh series, can strike deep into Israel, bypassing air superiority. Swarms of drones overwhelm defenses while Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis open multiple fronts, stretching Israel thin. Iran's strategic depth and underground facilities make it hard to defeat quickly. Despite outdated air power, Iran's asymmetric tactics and proxy network keep Israel off balance. Iran's strength lies in endurance, retaliation, and its ability to wage war on many fronts. In times of war, it is the civilians, ordinary people, families, children, who find themselves on the front lines, not by choice, but by circumstance. On both sides of this conflict, the price paid by innocent people is staggering and deeply personal. Every siren, every explosion, every moment spent in fear leaves a mark that may never fully heal. Israel has invested heavily in civil defense, public shelters, advanced warning systems, and a culture of preparedness that saves countless lives. When sirens blare, people know where to run, and drills are a part of daily life. Yet even with these measures, not all communities are equally protected, and the sense of safety is never absolute. In Palestinian and Bedouin areas within Israel, the reality is starkly different. Many of these communities lack adequate shelters or warning systems, leaving families exposed and anxious. This disparity highlights deep internal inequalities, where some lives are shielded while others remain at risk. Across the border in Iran, years of focusing on conflicts abroad have left cities unprepared for attacks at home. When missiles strike, confusion reigns. Makeshift shelters offer little real protection, and the lack of coordinated emergency response has led to tragic, preventable casualties. The devastation is visible everywhere: shattered homes, neighborhoods reduced to rubble, and families mourning loved ones lost to violence. The physical destruction is matched only by the emotional and psychological wounds that linger long after the bombs stop falling. For children, the trauma is especially profound. Growing up with the constant threat of attack, their innocence is stolen by fear. The sound of sirens becomes a part of childhood, and the stress of war shapes their memories and futures in ways that are hard to measure. In today's wars, it is civilians who bear the heaviest burden. They are forced to flee their homes, care for the wounded, and rebuild shattered lives. The scars, both visible and invisible, will last for generations, shaping entire communities. Ultimately, the true tragedy of this conflict is not measured in military victories or losses, but in the immense human cost: lives disrupted, families broken, and futures forever changed. The world is on edge as the Israel-Iran war threatens global stability. The US faces a dilemma: support Israel militarily or push for a ceasefire, knowing its choice could shape the war's outcome. The EU and G7 call for restraint, fearing oil price spikes and a wider regional war. Attacks on Iran's energy infrastructure have already sent oil prices soaring, rattling global markets. Nuclear talks are dead, and diplomacy is on life support. Regional powers watch nervously, aware they could be drawn in at any moment. The actions of global players may decide whether this war escalates or ends. When examining the military standoff between Israel and Iran, it becomes clear that both nations possess unique strengths and vulnerabilities, making a clear path to victory elusive for either side. Their capabilities are not just mismatched, they are fundamentally different, shaping the nature of any potential conflict in unpredictable ways. Israel's technological edge is formidable. With advanced fighter jets, cutting-edge missile defense systems, and a highly trained military, Israel can launch deep precision strikes and rapidly project force across the region. Its intelligence network is among the best in the world, allowing for swift responses to emerging threats. However, Israel's small geographic size and densely populated cities make it acutely vulnerable to missile saturation and large-scale attacks, putting millions of civilians at risk. In a prolonged, multi-front war, Israel would be forced to mobilize its reservists and rely heavily on its civilian population's resilience. The constant threat of missile barrages would strain emergency services, logistics, and the morale of society, potentially leading to widespread fatigue and disruption of daily life. Iran, on the other hand, leverages its vast territory, large population, and a massive arsenal of ballistic missiles. Its strength lies in endurance and the ability to wage asymmetric warfare through a network of regional proxies. Iran's strategy is built around outlasting its adversaries and inflicting sustained costs over time. Yet, its conventional military is outdated and its struggling economy limits its ability to sustain a long-term conflict. A major weakness for Iran is its lack of robust civil defense infrastructure. This leaves its civilian population exposed to airstrikes and missile attacks, increasing the risk of internal unrest and protests, especially as casualties and hardships mount. Ultimately, neither side is likely to achieve a decisive total victory. Both nations would suffer devastating losses, militarily, economically, and most tragically, in human lives. The scars of such a conflict would linger for generations. This war would be a grueling test of endurance, stretching the limits of both armies and societies. It is not just about firepower or technology, but about the will to withstand hardship, and the ability to adapt under relentless pressure. In the end, survival becomes the true objective for both nations. For the people caught in the crossfire, enduring the conflict and preserving their way of life is the only victory that truly matters. The Israel-Iran war is a catastrophic failure of deterrence and diplomacy, with consequences that reach far beyond the region. Both sides inflict pain, but neither can win outright. Mutual devastation and ongoing suffering is the likely outcome. The conflict threatens to ignite a regional firestorm, disrupt global energy supplies, and trigger a massive humanitarian crisis. The world economy teeters as vital oil flows are threatened, causing widespread uncertainty. Only diplomacy offers hope for lasting security. Military victory is an illusion that cannot bring peace. The alternative is endless violence, suffering, and instability for the Middle East and far beyond. Avoiding this fate must be the world's highest and most urgent priority.